It was late spring when Amanda Rivers boarded her flight to Tallinn, Estonia, with a sense of cautious hope resting deep in her chest. After years of dating apps, blind dates, and disappointing short-term flings back in Boston, she had begun to feel like the odds of finding a meaningful relationship in her hometown were slipping further and further away. She wasn't alone in her struggle. Amanda and her two best friends, Lisa Monroe and Jessica Clark, had spent more wine nights than they could count, venting about the lopsided dating scene, where men seemed either unavailable, uninterested, or perpetually distracted by an endless scroll of options. But a podcast Lisa stumbled upon changed everything. The episode was titled, "Where Have All the Good Men Gone?" and introduced an intriguing concept. Some countries, due to demographics and emigration, actually had a shortage of men. Surprisingly, in places like Latvia, Estonia, and even parts of Ukraine, women outnumbered men by notable margins. While it sounded like trivia at first, the idea stuck with Amanda. Curiosity turned into hours of research, and before long, the three women found themselves planning a trip not just for vacation, but perhaps to explore something deeper, a chance at connection where the odds might finally be in their favor. Estonia was their first destination. It was quaint, clean, and surprisingly tech-forward. Amanda had never imagined the possibility of finding love in a Baltic country, but here she was, walking through the charming cobblestone streets of Tallinn, surrounded by centuries-old architecture and a population with far more women than men. That was part of what made it so appealing. The men there, Amanda discovered quickly, were respectful and refreshingly direct. In Boston, getting a date often felt like scheduling a business meeting. In Tallinn, it was different. There was a sincerity in the way the local men spoke, asked questions, and listened. On their third evening in the city, Amanda met Eric, a local software developer with striking green eyes and a calm demeanor that immediately made her feel at ease. They met at a local bookstore cafe, where Eric worked part-time. Amanda had wandered in looking for a quiet place to journal, and Eric offered her the cafe's best coffee on the house. They talked for hours that night, about books, travel, and what it meant to feel like something or someone was missing. Amanda had always believed that love required more than chemistry. It needed timing and maybe a little help from geography too. While she and Eric took things slowly, the connection was undeniable. They spent the next few days exploring the city together, from the medieval towers to the scenic views of the Gulf of Finland. Meanwhile, Lisa and Jessica were having their own adventures. Lisa met a charming museum curator named Oscar, who introduced her to local history and a slower, more intentional way of life. Jessica, ever the skeptic, didn't expect much from their trip, but found herself unexpectedly drawn to a barista named Rivo, who played guitar at a local pub on weekends. It was eye-opening for all three women. They had expected an imbalance of gender to create competition, but instead, they found appreciation. The men they met weren't overwhelmed with options. They were eager to connect, to learn about American culture, and most importantly, they weren't afraid of commitment. After their 10-day stay, the women returned home, but not without promises. Amanda and Eric planned weekly video calls and even set a tentative date for him to visit Boston. Lisa and Oscar stayed in touch, sending long messages about books and art. Jessica's connection with Rivo faded over time, but it gave her hope that good men existed, just maybe not where she had been looking. Inspired by the trip, Amanda launched a blog titled Global Hearts, where she documented their experience and highlighted other countries with similar demographics. Her posts attracted attention from other single women across the U.S. who related deeply to the frustrations and were curious about dating in places with a more balanced, or even woman-heavy, gender ratio. The blog grew rapidly, and Amanda soon began interviewing women who had found love abroad. There was Emily from San Diego who married a charming English teacher in Portugal. Sarah, originally from Chicago, found her match in Croatia. And there was Kayla from Atlanta who decided to move permanently to Iceland after falling in love with a man she met at a community music night. Each story added depth to Amanda's belief that the dating game wasn't about lowering standards, it was about widening horizons. She began organizing small group trips for women, not matchmaking events, but cultural explorations with the possibility of connection. Amanda was careful not to sell hope or fantasy. She always made sure to emphasize respect, open-mindedness, and genuine human interaction. It wasn't about chasing a man, it was about creating opportunities where love could grow naturally. As Amanda's platform expanded, she received messages from men too, some asking how they could connect with these thoughtful, intentional women. Others simply expressed support. But not everyone was pleased. Some critics accused Amanda of running away from her own culture, while others questioned the motives behind dating in countries with economic or political instability. Amanda took it in stride. She knew this path wasn't for everyone. But for her and many others, it was about connection, not conquest. Her heart had opened in a place she never imagined, and she had no regrets. Months passed, and Eric did visit Boston. He spent 3 weeks with Amanda, meeting her friends and seeing her world. Though the cultural differences were real, the bond they shared made them both willing to learn and grow together. By the end of the year, Amanda returned to Estonia, not as a tourist this time, but with the intention of exploring what it would mean to stay longer. She had rented a small apartment near the city center and continued working remotely on her blog and travel programs. Lisa visited often and eventually made the leap to move abroad herself, finding fulfillment not just in her relationship with Oscar, but in a slower, more grounded lifestyle. Back home, Jessica used the confidence and renewed sense of hope from their trip to start dating again with an open mind, even considering long-distance possibilities. She eventually met a Canadian writer through Amanda's blog community, and their love story bloomed across borders. Amanda's journey, what started as a frustrated search for love, transformed into something much more profound. It was about challenging the norms she had been taught, opening up to new experiences, and redefining what love looked like for her. As she stood on the snowy streets of Tallinn one evening, watching couples walk hand in hand beneath twinkling lights, Amanda felt a peace she hadn't known in years. She hadn't run away, she had found a new way forward. Love, after all, knows no borders. Sometimes it just takes a passport and a little courage to find it.